3 years in Mexico. 3 years. Time has flown. It is absolutely wild to me that I'm just going to be moving to the US in a matter of days. If you guys are new to my channel, I lived here for 3 years because I met a boy while I was working on a cruise ship from Mexico. We did long distance, I got a remote job and decided to live here, and I've loved every second of it. I really hope I can come back and live here again in the future. For the past 2 years though, we've been waiting for Martine's visa to come to the United States, and it's finally time. We're all packed up. This is one of my last videos I'm making in Mexico, and boy am I nostalgic. I've really learned a lot since I've lived here. A lot of things that I think would be very helpful to somebody, whether they're going to be living here or just visiting. It's a completely different culture and things aren't gonna be the same as your own home country. So today I'm gonna be sharing some tips regarding money, regarding ground transportation, and regarding just general good things to know when living in Mexico. Let's get started. Oh, and by the way, I'm wrapped up under here because I threw out my back this morning. I'm feeling a lot better, but that is why I have this weird thing going on. I'm like all wrapped up under here. I feel like Mulan in that like one scene when she was at war. Anyway, let's get started. First, let's talk money saving tips, because I don't want you guys to get ripped off when you're here. And there's definitely been times that these tips would have come in handy if I had known them sooner. First, we're going to talk about credit cards. Are they popular here? Can you use them? Do you need cash? Well, a lot of places you can use credit cards, especially the bigger chains, like in malls, big restaurants, at OXXO, which is like their little convenience store. You can use credit cards for the most part, but it is very necessary to have pesos on hand as well. Why? Because if you're going to be taking a taxi, if you're going to be eating at a taco stand, small places, small restaurants oftentimes don't accept card because it charges them huge fees. So you don't want to be held back from doing the things you want to do. It is good to have pesos on hand. Tip number 2, should you use pesos or US dollars if you're an American citizen? Now, oftentimes in tourist towns, you can get away with using US dollars, but I wouldn't recommend it by any means because every restaurant, souvenir shop kind of gets to dictate what their own exchange rate is. And let me tell you, it's going to benefit them. It's often not the standard rate. They never change out the sign. It might just be like 15 pesos for 1 US dollar. It's not good at all. So very important that you use pesos, and I have a tip a little bit later about how to get the best exchange rate. You're not going to want to miss that one. Tip number 3 involves tipping, actually. I'm an American and we have a bad reputation about tipping too much. Well, maybe it's not bad because it benefits everybody else, but we tip way more than we need to. Let me tell you, you do not need to tip in a taxi. You do not need to tip at a street food stand. It's just not normal. You should be tipping in restaurants though, and the standard is 10 to 15%. Don't feel bad about not tipping 20. It's not normal. I was actually shocked by this when I first was dating Martine and we were in Mexico. I was ready to put down 20. He's like, that is way too much. It's almost offensive. 10 to 15 is the norm. 10 is standard, 15 if it's like great service. So don't feel bad holding back. Of course, if you can't afford to tip somebody who does an amazing job a little more, I'm sure that would make their day, but it's by no means necessary. Number 4, avoid ATMs on the 15th and the 30th of the month. I can tell you this because guess what? Every time I wanted to go to the ATM, it was the 15th or the 30th of the month, which is payday in Mexico, and it's a disaster. There'll be lines, you'll have to be waiting like 30 minutes. You might not even be able to get your money out because they'll run out. Best to go any other day but the 15th and 30th. Time is money. I can't have you waiting in line that long. And number 5 for our money tips, hit decline on the conversion rate. I didn't learn this until a year living in Mexico. When you go to the ATM, you'll select the amount of money that you want to take out. You'll see that there's a fee for using the ATM. That's all normal. Then you'll get to a page that says the conversion rate that they're offering and you can hit accept or decline. Well, I always thought if you hit decline, they're just not going to let you take money out. Completely wrong. Hit decline, because guess what? That rate is awful. It's whatever the ATM's bank rate is that they're offering, and usually they're trying to screw you over and make a quick buck. it is much better to hit decline because it'll use your home bank's conversion rate, which is so much better. To give you an example, there was a time I saw the conversion rate was offered to me as 18 pesos for $1, hit decline, looked at my statement, later saw I got 21 pesos per dollar. That is a huge, huge saving, especially if you're taking out a lot of money from an ATM, so definitely use that to your advantage. If you're going to be ordering a taxi, try not to hail it off the street. It's a little bit less reliable. You never really know who you're going to get, and oftentimes in most cities there's some sort of union of taxis that are safe and reliable. Most of the time in public areas, at airports, there'll be a taxi stand you can go to. They'll get the taxi for you and they will standardize the rate for you before you enter the car. That's the best way to go, but honestly, I don't use taxis too much in Mexico. I prefer Uber because sometimes I'm going to an area that I've never been before. I don't even know how to describe how to get there. So setting that in the map on Uber is just, it saves a huge headache. It's pretty cheap too. You can get a ride for like $2 across town sometimes. So I personally prefer using Uber, and from the conversations I've had with Uber drivers in some areas like Puerto Vallarta and here in Cuernavaca, Uber is very active in the community and makes sure that if, you know, Uber drivers are doing something bad, they are kicked off the app. So there's definitely been a lot of work here to make things safe and reliable. All right, moving on into some more general tips I have for you guys. Let's talk about bathrooms. First off, you're going to notice a lot of the bathrooms have a letter, either H or M. M means mujeres, which means women. M does not mean man. So women, look out for the M. Men, look out for the H, which means hombres. That's very helpful. Also, it's typical in public places that you will have to pay to enter the bathroom. It's usually just a couple pesos, so it's really good to have some coins on hand. Most of the time, the bathrooms are very well maintained. If they cost money, there'll be somebody who will hand you some toilet paper when you enter, but it is also good to just carry around some Kleenex in case they don't have any. Tip number 9, if you are traveling on a tourist visa, make sure you keep the immigration card that they give you. They're going to slip it into your passport. It's a small piece of paper about the size of your passport actually, and you need to hold on to that because they're going to collect it from you when you leave the country. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay a fee. They don't tell you this when you go through immigration, so make sure you hold on to that piece of paper. Tip number 10, don't be afraid of the ice. I remember growing up as a kid, my parents would tell me, oh, you know, stay away from the ice, stay away from washed vegetables. You don't need to worry. Ice here is filtered. Never had any issue with the ice. Enjoy your cold drink. And as far as washing vegetables, most of the time they use in disinfectant drops to make sure that vegetables are completely clean, and so you don't need to skip out on a salad either. I'd say like 99% sure that it's going to be okay. I haven't had any issues personally. Number 11, make sure that you greet anybody who is serving you. I know Americans also get a bad rep because we are very fast-paced. Well, not all Americans. Personally, me being in California, I'm used to just starting off my conversation by ordering what I need to order. That is not the case. You should greet your server, for example, say buenos dias, which is good morning, buenas tardes, which is good afternoon. Make sure you say please and thank you, por favor y gracias, and they're going to respect you a lot more. It's kind of rude to just start off by ordering, so make sure you're being polite. Number 12, getting medical services and diagnosed by a doctor is extremely easy here. So if you're sick, nothing to fear. Actually, one really unique thing about Mexico is that the pharmacies here have an on-site doctor available where you can have a consultation with them. In particular, I know Farmacias Similares has a doctor on site most of the time at most of them. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them do. And that pharmacy is all across Mexico. It's like they have this mascot of this like old guy. I'll insert it to the side here. Actually, the mascot is outside of the pharmacy sometimes dancing. It's really funny. But I guess there was a trend here in Mexico once where they would where kids would like push over the mascot. I'm getting sidetracked. Point is, they often have doctors on site where you can just walk in for a consultation. It's usually really cheap, maybe like $20 US. And especially if you have something like a cold or maybe a sinus infection, ear infection, something that is pretty easy, you just need medicine for, the doctor will be able to diagnose you, and provide a prescription for you. You'd also be surprised by how much you can get at the pharmacy without a prescription. So if you know that there's a certain medicine you need that maybe you take all the time, you can just walk right into the pharmacy and try to ask for it. Also, doctor's appointments, hospital visits really aren't as expensive here. For example, today I woke up in such pain with my shoulder. I was able to see a doctor right away. It cost me $15 US for them to put my shoulder back in place, wrap it up, give me a prescription, and I was on my way. So healthcare system here is just wonderful. Very, very easy to use. Dental as well. Martine had an emergency root canal he had to do once. That was probably a third of what you would pay for a normal root canal in the US. So just know that those services are available and they're not expensive like the US. I hope these tips were helpful to you guys. Of course, this is just my experience and my tips living in the two areas I've lived in Mexico, which was Puerto Vallarta and Cuernavaca, Morelos. But if there's other tips that you have, leave them down below so that other people can learn what to expect when visiting Mexico. Because this place is great, no need to be afraid, but do make sure you're prepared and know what to expect when you're visiting. I'll see you guys in our next video. So long, travel well, and make the world your neighborhood. See you guys next time. Bye!
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Did you know we have a Patreon? All our members get access to monthly income reports, exclusive podcasts, access to our private Facebook group, and even a copy of my ebook, Puerto Vallarta Like a Local. Business and first class patrons also get a postcard from us each month. Thanks so much for the support. Click the Patreon logo on this screen to join our family.